I will never buy another AR-15 again. And I don't really think that you should either. Now, obviously I love AR-15s. I've got a bunch of them. What I mean by I won't ever buy one again is that instead I will build them. In fact, I haven't bought one since my first two. And then I put so many different parts, so much money into those two to make them into what I really wanted them to be, that I started building them. My very first build, the 9mm PCC. My second build, 300 Blackout Shorty. Then I did the Dream Rifle build, 14.5 inch, the Mark 18 here. And now I'm working on the budget premium ultimate 11.5 inch build. This video isn't part of the build series. We'll be continuing that in a few weeks, I think. But I want to talk about built, not bought. Now, I do kind of think that that phrase is a little bit ridiculous because you're definitely still buying all the parts. But I do think that you can get more of a rifle that is exactly what you want and spend less on it. When I said that you could spend less on it, by no means am I saying that it's necessarily going to be cheaper to build your own rifle than to buy one as far as the rifle is concerned. You'd think it would be because, you're just buying the individual parts. You're not paying a company that makes ARs to assemble it. And you're also not paying the firearm tax, except for on the lower, which is, if the lower is $200 versus a $1,200 rifle, you're paying the firearm tax on a smaller amount. So there are ways that it could be a little bit cheaper. I have found that my builds actually have costed me more money, but that's because I like to build nicer rifles now. But the difference is you're only going to buy each part once, whereas when you buy a rifle and then find out, decide what you like about it, and upgrade it, you're basically buying parts twice. You buy it with a basic stock on it, then you replace it with a nice stock. Well, you paid for that original stock as part of that rifle, and then you bought a nicer stock. Maybe you change out the handguard. Well, you paid for that original handguard and then paid for the one you really wanted. When you build a rifle, as long as you know what you want when you start, well, you only pay for each part once. Now, the thing is this. I think that a lot of people are intimidated to start their first rifle build. Well, I'm here to tell you it is not difficult. And a lot of people also seem to think that you have this huge investment in tools that you need to make before building a rifle so that it's only really worth it if you actually plan to build a bunch of rifles. That's not really true either. You could build an AR with just a couple of very basic, very affordable tools. One of these, like AR15 tools and a torque wrench. And probably a good idea to have like one of these smaller torque wrenches too. But to be quite honest, I built a bunch of rifles before I ever bought this. I bought this for doing optic screws on pistols, honestly. But I use it for all kinds of stuff now that I have it. But this was not expensive. Yes, there are expensive torque wrenches you can get. This is not one of them, but you know what? It does the job just fine. And in this video, we're going to talk about the few things that you do need to make sure that you do correctly, meaning torque specs. And those really are just, like your castle nut on your buffer tube and your barrel nut here. Yes, torque specs are good to use for all of the things that, ask for torque specs. Certain optic mounts will tell you what the torque specs are supposed to be. And yes, it's a good idea to use the correct torque specs, to use, blue Loctite, to do all these things. There is a right way to do it. My point is, though, is that you can do it the right way without having to invest a whole lot of money in tools. And really, without having to invest a whole lot of time in learning. When I put my first AR together, I watched a YouTube video about how to, assemble an AR-15 lower receiver. I did have some trouble with the takedown and pivot pins the first time. But once you learn how to do it once, it's pretty much automatic after that. This video is sponsored by Venice AI. if you're not on the AI train yet, you are missing out. And you know what? I was one of those people missing out for a very long time. I'm always kind of a late adapter to these things, but AI is honestly amazing. The stuff that you can do with it is absolutely incredible. It's a very powerful tool for just about anything in your life. I keep finding more and more amazing things you can do with it. The thing is, though, is that things like ChatGPT and stuff like that, they're actually stealing your information and they're selling it. The former director of the NSA is on the board of ChatGPT. That's not a good thing. You know, Google and stuff like that, you know, Facebook, whatever, they listen to you and they advertise to you based on what you say. Well, what else are these things doing with your information? They're selling it to third parties, including governments. You don't, especially if you're a 2A person, you don't really want the government listening in on your conversation. So that's where Venice AI comes in. They're a full AI platform, but they are private and permissionless, meaning that they don't sell any of your information to anybody else. It's totally private. You get all of the benefits of AI without those downsides. So you might as well try it out. Now, if you use my link, that's venice.ai/sawtooth-tactical, you can get 20% off on your pro plan. The pro plan is the way to go. There's just a ton more that you can do with it. You can use all the tools that AI has to offer. And I mean, by now, AI can do so much for your productivity, for your organization, your creativity. Just check it out. It's amazing what you can do. Again, 20% off with code SawtoothTactical at venice.ai/sawtooth-tactical. There are a lot of benefits to building your own rifle. For one thing, like I said, you only buy each part once because you get to build exactly the rifle that you want. You know, I could have bought you can buy a full Daniel Defense Mark 18, right? It's a great rifle, but it comes with furniture I don't want. It doesn't come with an ambi lower. Maybe their new Riz 3 versions do. My point is, though, is that it doesn't come with exactly what you want. It doesn't come with the muzzle device that I need to attach my suppressor with my mounting system, stuff like that. And that's the great thing about building it, is you literally choose exactly what you want, what you know that you like. Now, I do think, sure, it's probably good to maybe buy your first rifle and change out parts over time, because that's how you find out what you do like. But once you know what you like, I don't really see a point in buying an AR after that. Build them. Building them is not difficult. So, like I said, watch a YouTube video on how to install or how to assemble a lower. The only part that is even slightly could be considered difficult are the takedown and pivot pins. These right here, getting the detents and springs in there and getting them in can be a little bit of a pain if you don't know what you're doing. Now, there are tools that you can get specifically for that make it really easy. There's also, I don't think I have it here. Let me see. I'll have to show you guys in a short or something. There's a pin that you can buy at the hardware store for like 59 cents. I wish I could think of what it's called right now, but it's a pin. It's about the same thickness as your takedown pins. It's got a hole that goes through it. It just makes it a million times easier. And it is a lot cheaper than, the specialized tool for it. It basically does the same thing. I'll do a short about this once I find that pin, because I've got one around here somewhere, because it does just make it that easy. And that's the thing, once you build a few rifles, you do realize that there are some tricks to making it easier. You got to get the right grease for your barrel nut. That's actually very important. Most other things, pretty simple. That's the great thing about the AR. We talk about modularity and how modular it is. Well, that's what I mean by building it. So if I wanted to build an AK or an MP5, you have to have stamped steel receivers that are folded and bended into place. And then you have rivets, to put in. You have to press fit barrels, all these things. The AR isn't that way. Basically, with some wrenches and screwdrivers and and pin punches, you can put the whole thing together or take the whole thing apart. And that's one of the greatest things about it. So right now I'm in the process of starting this new 11.5-inch build. Now, YouTube, of course, you can't show how to build firearms on YouTube. I mean, they demonetize pretty much every one of my videos anyway, even when I do follow all of their rules. All the more reason why I appreciate it when people click on the links for the sponsor down in the description. That would be Venice.ai in this video. Because yeah, YouTube doesn't like that stuff. And so I can't actually show how I put these things together, even in the build videos. I have a way around it, and you'll see it if you haven't seen one of my build series before. But let me know in the comments. I had a Patreon, like back when I only had 1,000 subscribers. And of course, nobody, I got like 2 Patreons because I only had 1,000 people watching my videos. Well, now I've got over 35,000 subscribers. Let me know if you guys would appreciate if I restarted up that Patreon, because on Patreon, I can actually show the building process. So I could do the build series videos on YouTube and show the actual how you do it on Patreon. If that's something that you guys would like, let me know. Maybe I'll do that. But even if not, there are still a lot of videos on YouTube from back before they made up all these rules that show how to do these things. And they're not difficult. Like I said, most of it can be done. I mean, so you need one of these. And this is not even a good one. This is a cheap one that I bought when I did my very first build here. But it works. It's worked for all my builds since. You're going to need something like this for your castle nut. That's this right here. To tighten the castle nut, torque it on. You need a torque wrench. So the way this works is it literally, the metal bends and it shows you what you're torquing it to. You need that for your barrel nut. Very important that your barrel nut and your castle nut are torqued correctly. You don't want your barrel to come off. You don't want your buffer tube to come off. Those are very important things. Literally most of the rest of it is like knocking some pins in, screwdrivers, Torx, little Torx wrenches. These are great, but you definitely don't need a little torque wrench. It's nice to have if you're going to build a bunch of them. But if you've got like an Allen wrench set and a Torx, so Allen wrench is hex, Torx is like the star bits. A lot of stuff are Torx now. If you've got a set of those, like, you're pretty much set. This stuff is not difficult. Line up your gas block right on your barrel. And for that, one of the reasons I like these Roscoe barrels is that they're already dimpled for the gas block. So one of your gas block set screws goes right in that dimple. Just helps line it up. But it's really hard to mess this up, is my point. I'm not going to go through the whole process in this video, but it is really hard to mess it up. You got to try to screw up an AR-15 build. So if you haven't built one yet, if you're afraid to get started on a build, if you think it's, an expensive bunch of tools that you need to get, or if it just seems like you feel like it's going to be too complicated to put together a gun, it's not. And that is the reason that I will probably never buy an AR-15 again. There are firearms worth buying. It was worth buying an MP5. It was worth buying an AK. It was worth buying a 2011. Some guns, you can just straight build. If you really want to, you can build just about anything. You can build a 2011 from parts, but there's going to be a lot of hand fitting involved and stuff like that. You could definitely build a Glock from parts. That's about as easy as an AR. But a lot of guns, do take specialized tools, specialized processes, things like that. The AR, dude, there's a TDP, technical data package. You can look that up. It is super easy to put these things together. And you get exactly what you want. That's my whole point, is that, I can't find an AR-15 rifle out there that is exactly what I want, that has the handguard that I want, the furniture that I want, the barrel that I want, the muzzle device that I want. do whatever, optic mounts. But to get exactly what I want in an AR is just about impossible. Even something that I think might be really cool that I see hit the market, I'm still going to probably want to put, my favorite stock and grip on it. Whatever it may be. And the cool thing about building it is you just put it together exactly the way that you want. And it's fun. It's a lot more fun, and you get a lot more satisfaction out of putting it together yourself. The first day that you get to take it out and shoot that thing and it runs and cycles and everything works perfectly and it doesn't blow up in your face, that's a great feeling. And instead of, the feeling that you get when you buy a new gun, it's always a great day. I love buying a new gun. Well, you kind of get it a bunch of times when you build one, because you get to buy a new handguard, you get to buy a new stock, you get to buy a new barrel. You get a bunch of those days as you get the parts together and as you start going through the building process. Once we get a lower, I'll show you what I mean. But, I love getting a stripped lower receiver and put that thing together and get the trigger that I want in it. A Geisley trigger, a Radian safety, my B5 grip, ambi lower, put all that together, get the buffer tube on it with the stock, and then start on the upper, get the barrel and the handguard put together in it. And then once you get the whole rifle assembled, the rifle itself, well, then you get to do things like optic mounts and optics and lights and all the stuff that you would add to an already purchased rifle. But before that, before you get to do all that customization, add all of your your fancy doodads and gadgets and go fast stuff, you get to actually build the thing. And I just think it's a very rewarding process. It's very satisfying. It's a lot of fun, and you get exactly what you want out of it. And again, you only buy the parts once. So in a way, you could save money. Now, I end up buying premium parts that are not cheap. But you can put a lot of money into a build. These two builds are very expensive. This one that I'm building now, we're building a premium rifle. I'm trying to get all this stuff, like there's a Blam handguard. All this other stuff that I've bought so far has been on sale. Trying to show how affordably we could build a premium rifle. But I promise it's still going to cost a pretty penny. But so is a good rifle that you buy. If you're going to buy a Geisley Super Duty, a Daniel Defense DDM4, whatever, any of these, a LaRue or something like that, or an LMT, like you're going to spend some freaking money. And then you're still going to replace some stuff. So in my opinion, you might as well just put it together yourself. And no, I don't mean buy a complete lower and a complete upper and slap them together with two pins. You can definitely do that if there's exactly an upper out there that you want, but usually you're going to find that, especially if you already have a suppressor that you run, that it's not going to have the right muzzle device for you or something. The lower is probably not going to have the furniture that you love. And that's why I say build it instead of buy it. But again, let me know down in the comments if you agree with me or not. I know a lot of people are like, well, but then you have no warranty. Well, the thing is that you are your own warranty. And that's one of the other great things about it, is what you learn about your firearm. When you put it together yourself, if something goes wrong, something breaks, you know how to fix it. That's a great thing as well. I see a lot of people online that it's like they've got a firearm, something's not working right, and they don't know what to do about it. They have to send it back to the company, and hopefully they warranty it. So you have to transfer the firearm to them, and then you have to transfer it back to yourself. You have to ship it 2 ways. You hope that they warranty it and you don't have to pay for the repairs. All this stuff, like, to me, I don't worry about warranties. Here's the reason all my stuff is spray painted and customized and changed. I don't think there's a firearm behind me, even the factory ones, that aren't changed in pretty significant ways. I don't give a shit about a warranty. I am the warranty. Something breaks, I know enough about it to get the right part to fix it myself. And that's what building it does for you. When you put it together yourself, if you do have a problem, you know how to fix it. And it just makes you feel much more confident in your firearms and your knowledge about them. And I think that might be the most important thing about it. But let me know if you guys agree with me in the comments or not. I'd love to hear your side of it, if you think that it makes more sense to buy a factory rifle. I get those comments from people all the time. Why would you do this? So why not just buy a freaking gun that's good to go? Well, I mean, what's the fun in that? I think this is a lot more fun. And I'm not worried about something having a problem because I can fix it, and you can too. But I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Make sure you subscribed. And from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.